Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to address a few comments that were made tonight, Mr. Rappaport. I wanted to clarify that tonight we're actually voting on setting the tax rate for next year. That there's still a lot of information going around that we're voting on how to fund the police station, and that's not the case. I clarified 2 weeks ago when we were here that we are we have been debating whether or not to have a 20 or 30-year loan, as you mentioned. But the capabilities of funding the police station, we are ready to move forward on doing so. Once we can decide on the 20 or 30-year loan. So we are voting tonight to set the tax rate. But I did want to also address a few of those comments, just because I think you bring up a lot of good points that should be put out there to the public. The council oversight, I was not part of the initial discussions in 2013 when the dollars of $4 million, $5 million, whatever it might have been, were thrown around. But I was part of the conversations when we had our architects designing the police station. Myself and Councilman Herbeck were two council members that sat with the leadership of the PD, reviewed the plans, scrutinized the plans, and I can assure you that on more than one occasions, they probably wanted to throw me out of the building because of all the questions I was asking as to the necessity, whether it was the technology, whether it was the amount of rooms, whether it was the desk that we had. I mean, you name it. I remember going through a very rigorous process and having many conference calls with architects as well. So there was some council oversight that happened. Additionally, Councilman Herbeck and myself felt, with our town manager, felt that it was appropriate to hire a clerk of the works to make sure that there was no cost creep on what we intended to spend. And I'm pretty happy with the result of that. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but we put insurances in place to make sure that wasn't going to happen, so that we could safeguard the cost of the project and moving forward. I just felt like those are a couple of important pieces of information. And with regard to the Royal Phoenix site, talking about the funding, whether the funding for what has now been coined, and I apologize about that, but the road to nowhere, the funding is still a line item, a budget line item, that can be dedicated to that road or dedicated to the police station. We're able to move that around. Likewise, that was mentioned a little bit later, the property maintenance was brought up in discussion last week. There are line items in the budget that we can shift around if we need to meet our debt service, but it doesn't mean that we're going to completely defund the different projects that we're working on. And that is something that can be brought up at any time in council to continue funding that way. So we have not voted on the final budget for the year. We're voting to set the tax rate tonight, and then we'll vote on the budget following this. But with regard to the infrastructure, we do have a nice road that was put in place for what was supposed to be IT Federal. We also put in a $500,000 water pump station, plus electricity to the site. It is ready to go for any business that wants to come in and develop on that site. So I am proud of that. With regard to the additional millions of dollars it'll take to extend the road, it would be nice that when we have a business that's coming in to develop the road, that they would help burden some of that cost, share that cost to develop that road. That would be my hope, so that it doesn't rest completely on the taxpayers to fund it. I do think the road would be really nice to have, just as I believe that a nice police station, sustained benefits, increased wages, a strong electrical grid, all these projects that we'd like to have, but it does come at a cost. And to your point, Mr. Rappaport, we can't have this and that, without increasing our taxes to make sure that it happens. So there are things that we have to make decisions on one way or another. But all the things that are brought up are things that we want. It's just prioritizing how we get there. So thank you for coming out tonight and bringing up those really important points. And I hope that was helpful information. And if not, I'm happy to talk about that afterwards as well.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think I told everybody last time when I proposed the 15 cents to do the 20 years, and it was voted 3-3, and Mr. Mayor broke the tie, and it was passed. Monday night when we discussed it, it fell back to the wayside. And so tonight, I'm sure we're not going to do the 20-year loan that I was in favor for. It's going to save the $3.5 million, as Mr. Rappaport said. I know I'm going to be outvoted, but that's the way it is when you sit on a council. I will like to go back to the police department. I've been here for a long time, and I saw this police department start from the beginning to the end, or pretty much the end, be done probably the end of this month. And I begged the council, Bevan and I begged the council to set a limit on the amount of money that we would spend. And nobody listened. Nobody heard a word we said. And each month, almost every 2 weeks, every month, it went up 500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, another $1 million. Now it's up to over 10. You know, it really bothers me that nobody wants to listen. And Mr. Means, I agree with you. If you can't afford it, don't build it. And we need to have the finances in place before we start it. And Bill Seelock and I are the only two on here that's left on here of that group, talked about how we're going to pay projects. And it was not listened to by anybody on the council at that time. And now we're in a pickle. We kicked the can down the road and the can stopped. And now we've got to find a way to pay for it. And that's tonight, and when we vote on this tax increase. I apologize to the citizens of Front Royal because I think we did not do our due diligence in building the police department. And I will apologize personally because I tried, nobody would listen. And if I had heard some of the council members up here, I'm sorry. But I've been here a long time and I know the outcomes, and we need money before we start building things, or I know a way of paying for it before that. Even the tax credits, we knew not too long after we heard about them that those things were not going to happen. So we started looking at other means, and now we have a means that we're going to have to borrow money from either a private source or go to the Virginia Municipal League on the bond market. We're not sure yet as to where we're headed on that one at this point. And so we still don't know where the funds are coming from. We know we might have enough money to pay them for the actual cost of the building, which is, I believe Mr. Rappaport said $581,000, that's pretty close. But again, we have to make those decisions. The building is built, and we got to pay for it. Whatever means it takes, the town council has to approve funds to pay for the building that we gave approval for to be built. And now it's left up to us to make that final decision on how much money then we're going to raise our taxes in order to cover that potential cost. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, moving on to the final agenda item is council approval for setting the fiscal year 2019-2020 tax rates for the fiscal year 18-19 budget amendment, ordinance amendment to the chapter 75-744C. This is a second reading. Ms. Berry.
Council voted at the March 25th public hearing for a real estate tax rate of 15 cents per $100 of assessed value, which represents an increase of 0.029 cents per $100 assessed value over the current year's rate. At the April 1st work session, Council discussed a tax rate of 13.5 cents per $100 of assessed value, which represents an increase of 0.014 cents per $100 over the current year's rate. Council also discussed reallocation of funds for the West Connector Road and the building property maintenance to be used for the construction of the new police department and associated debt services. Since the budget has not been approved by Council, these reallocations will be included in the final adoption of the budget.
Gentlemen, can I have a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move the council adopt on second and final reading a real estate tax rate of 13.5 cents per 100 of assessed value, which is the same rate as last year, but which represents 0.014 per 100 assessed value over the current year's rate, and to achieve the same amount of revenue in light of the recent increased assessments to be used for the construction of the new police department headquarters and associated debt service. Personal property tax rate remained the same at 64 cents per 100 assessed value. Decrease the personal property tax rate from 60% to 56% of value on the first 20,000 of assessed value of qualifying vehicles with an assessed value greater than $1,000. And a personal property tax relief rate of 100% remain the same for qualifying vehicles with an assessed amendment in the amount of $183,445.24 to be used for the construction of the police department headquarters and associated debt service. I further move the council adopt on its second final reading an ordinance to amend amendment to chapter 75-44C as presented.
Second.
Motion second, discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Feel like we're confusing the issue of the 20-year repayment and increasing taxes to cover that versus 30-year repayment and keeping the tax rate flat. To be clear, keeping the tax rate flat, if we want to vote for a 20-year repayment, I'm all in favor of that. Let's do a 20-year repayment. I just believe that we can find that in our current budget if we really want to do it. If we really want to save $3 million, that's fine in our current budget. Why raise taxes in order to do that? So again, if we were to increase taxes, so we got to pick up essentially from the assessed values, home values, we got an increase to our budget with that. We're going to turn around and raise taxes to bring in even more revenue to save, roughly the $3 million on interest payments. I think that would be great. I just don't understand why council can't get there through our current budget. Why is our go-to, let's raise taxes to get there? So when you hear, let's increase taxes, it will save us $3 million, I say, if we want a 20-year repayment on a loan, let's figure out how to do it in our current budget and keep tax rates flat. And that's what I feel like council should be held to, and not, sorry, we couldn't get that loan because most of council or half of council didn't vote to increase taxes.
Anyone else? Ms. Berry, roll call.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Thompson? Yes. Thank you.
Any more business coming before the town council? Meeting's adjourned.